Is that cause of action? There is. Oh. Sorry. The question now is that vote tertiary education stand part. I call the honourable member Tracy Martin.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I rise to take a call on the tertiary education estimates 2012-13 as the education spokesperson for New Zealand First. There's little time to cover all of the contradictory statements and actions with regard to education that this government, this minister and this budget makes to the students and educational professionals of this nation. But I'll just start with the fact that this minister and this government keeps making statements about the need for a knowledge-based economy and then puts financial barriers in the way of the very citizens that are seeking to be part of that economy. This minister and this government speaks of lifelong learners, but one of this government's first actions when it came into power was to cut funding to the adult and community education field, removing the opportunities for second chance learners to the tune of $14 million. The overall tertiary education expenditure for 2012 is $60 million less than it was in 2011. Adult and community education has suffered even further cuts, and so has the funding of adult literacy and numeracy, while at the same time inside this budget there are increased subsidies for private companies that want to make a profit from selling education. In my community, from Orewa to Whangarei, women hoping to return to the workforce, well, not just hoping anymore, these are widows and women living alone who now under new legislation must go out and upskill themselves and find employment. Or employees that are seeking to upskill to improve their promotional possibilities, or older students who need to get NCA level 1, 2 or 3 so that they can partake in the Minister's focused level 4, have zero access to adult and community education. No community and adult education in that area from 2009, and therefore they have zero opportunity to get anywhere near the government's rhetorical targets. Here we have a government and a minister that lauds our education system overseas. It recognises and markets that our international reputation as an exceptional education system. They market that fact so that they can draw in foreign students to our shores with the view of making money from those students, while at the same time removing the supports from its own citizens, the children, the students of its own taxpayers. Now, previously in this House, I have had to commiserate with the Right Honourable Dr Lockwood Smith on the direction that the National Party is taking on education matters. Previously, that was around technology teachers. Now it is around the student allowance. In 2006, Dr Smith told the Sunday Star Times that he would have preferred a universal student allowance scheme, or at the very least one that hit wage and salary earning families less hard. So let's not forget in all this argument here that the very people making these budgetary decisions, the very people that are telling our students to go out and protest on the streets like Greeks, are actually the people who pulled the educational and investment ladder back up from behind them. So that's Bill English, Stephen Joyce, John Key, Hekia Porata, Peter Dunn, just to name a few, all got a tertiary education for nothing. They were all invested in by the grandparents of the students that today, under this budget, get nothing, or virtually nothing. And I would suggest that those grandparents need to come and get a refund. When Nationals Wyatt Creech introduced the student loan scheme in 1992, 20 years ago this year, the upper allowance for students living away from home was $109.25 per week. Under this budget, the same student can now look forward to $170.80 per week. So over the last 20 years, this living allowance, because it is an allowance to live on, has increased by $61.55, just over $3 per year. Now, we've heard a lot about the Labor Party living on planet Labor. I don't know what planet the national government or this minister lives on if they think that over the last 20 years the cost of living in this country has only risen by 1.8% per year. In the year 2011 alone, fruit and vegetables, just fruit and vegetables for that single year increased by 8.1%. Now, to add insult to injury, when it was in 2006, when Dr Smith was concerned about these things, the income threshold was $64,000 gross for the parental income threshold to get a student allowance. Now it's $55,026. So not only have the parents' incomes got less because of the rising cost of living, their children's allowances have got less valuable, the government tells their children that without this education they and the country won't be a success. They've extended the freeze on the increase in parental income threshold for the student allowance.
I call the honourable member